Hello everybody, this is Evan Rogers coming at you with an exciting new video that I'm sure all of you are going to be like, whoa, it's totally amazing, oh my god. But that's a joke, but obviously this is actually going to be a pretty important one. A lot of people don't know the information in this one, so if you think you're all cool, too cool for school, and Evan's a bald bozo, you're right about half of those. I'm not going to tell you which ones. We're going to be talking about the major parts of speech in Japanese, and there's a breakdown of the majority of words in Japanese. This isn't all of them, and there's going to be some weird spots, but this is generally true. I thought I saw my wife was coming in here, but maybe she ran away. Okay, there's two big categories. Like all of Japanese words, there's a huge chunk and then another huge chunk. We have nominals, that's a fancy word, linguistics word, and verbals, another fancy word. Let's not get into the linguistics term. Let's get into how they kind of get used in the language itself. For now, don't worry too much about the why are we making these distinctions. Indeed, just be aware that they exist, and as you learn grammar, as we go through it, you're going to see more and more and more and more and more how these two word classes do actually exist. I'm going to give you a brief overview, but yeah, this sounds like I'm just repeating myself. I didn't even need to read the darn stuff on the page. I'm just that good. I'm just that good. Yeah, man. Yeah, let's bring it. All right, nominals. There are generally two types of nominals in Japanese. We have the no nominal, aka nouns. They're generally called nouns. Person, place, thing, or idea generally. We also have the non nominal, which are in almost every textbook save like Japanese as spoken language and really advanced linguist. If your textbook isn't based linguistically and it's just learn it because it's Japanese and you don't need a linguistics degree, they're generally going to be called na adjectives because they're generally adjectives. They modify an adjective is a word that modifies a noun in some way. So like the pretty girl, the girl is a thing and it's being modified by pretty. Depending on your English textbook, the word the is an adjective. I would rather call it a determiner, but let's not get into that. The connection between a no nominal and non nominal is that you need to either use a no or a na or even some other form of what's called a copula, we'll get to that in the future, when they come before a noun, and they require a copula when ending a sentence or a clause. Basically, these guys need the copula. We'll talk about a copula very shortly. It's going to be one of the major guys. The Japanese copula is very tricky, but let's keep on trucking. So nominals basically need a copula afterwards. You know, we're talking 9 times out of 10. You're going to see a copula after them. Verbals. So this is the other one. There are two types of verbals in Japanese. Verbs. And e-adjectives. Now, so far you haven't, if you've just been going from the past few videos that I made, you haven't learned any e-adjectives. If you know any Japanese language, you probably know at least one verb and at least one adjective. Or e-adjective, that is. Excuse me, I just burped. Verbals are distinct from nominals because they do not require a copula. They don't require a copula. I should put the emphasis on require like I wrote here because I was writing properly. Another reason to be good at writing is because you can think better when you write, and if you read it later, you'll be better. You'll be more accurate in what you're trying to communicate, and accuracy is very important. They can come before a noun without anything in between. Yes, you heard me right, you beginning learners. Verbs can go directly in front of a noun. We'll get into that much later. Actually, I don't know. Maybe it'll be somewhat later. Later. And e-adjectives and verbs, aka both of those, are verbals, end sentences or clauses without the need for any form of a copula. Okay? So far you're like, okay, there's this thing called the nominal, there's this thing called a verbal, and apparently nominals are nouns and not adjectives and or not nominals. Then we have verbals, which are verbs and e-adjectives. And the distinction seems to be with what's called a copula. Now, Evan hasn't explained what a copula is, but let's get into it. The weird third one, the copula. A brief introduction. Okay, so the word copula is you have a word and another word, and you're gonna ka-chink, couple them together. A couple, copulate, copula, coupling. All of those words mean you take one thing, you take another thing, and you get it together. All right, that was inappropriate. English copulas. Be, am, is, are, was, were, will be, smells like, sounds like, tastes like, looks like, feels like, etc., etc., etc. So, like, imagine I walk into a room and it smells like chicken. I'm saying something and chicken are basically the same thing via the way it smells. It's a weird copula, but it's kind of a copula. We can't teach it all here because it's just an intro. The copula, page number 1. The grammatic copula is when we say sentence resembling x equals y, or x is y. We just talked about that. Copula, couple, copulation, coupling. Two join is one. The Japanese copula is confusing. Good God, yes it is. It is horrifically confusing. English is confusing. Why the heck does is become was, and was becomes were, and then were is also the same thing as are. But then there's also be, then there's been, and then the British call it bean. Very confusing. It has numerous forms that differ only in function, like how they're used in the sentence. Like, does it come before a noun? Does it come after a noun? Does it come before a verbal? Does it come at the end of the sentence? Does it come at the end of a clause? Do we want to say it specifically is this thing, or do you want to say it's kind of like... So in function, it's different, and in word order, basically where it comes in the sentence. Sorry, I guess I repeated myself. There are still debates over whether certain things are copulars or not, because we just don't have the history. And I say we as if I'm doing any damn research. I'm not. When I read things about the copula, people get into debates over whether or not something is. And justifiably so. It's very confusing. Page number 2. Here are some versions. Some of them might be a little bit debatable. Some people are going to yell at me, blah, 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 blah. These are generally some of the copulas. We have janakata, reading top left to, we're just going to go left to right. Janakata, janai, no, des, na, de rasharu, da, de aru, de gozaru, deshita, de atta, datte, de atta, de gozaimashita, de arimasu, datta, de wa arimasen, and there are even more. The more the more history of Japanese you learn, and the more actual Japanese you learn, you will see the connection between every single one of those. Right now, you're probably looking at it and you're like, none of those look at all this. Well, some of them look kind of similar. Like there's a deshita, and then there's like a de gozaimashita. And you're saying, okay, there's a few things, but why is there a ja here? And why did none of them have a D in them? But some of them, the most of them do. The more you learn, the more these all get connected. If you don't know why they're connected, beg me to make a video. I'll go over it. So yeah, the more advanced learners might be wondering how the copula and verbals are different. So indeed. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm glad we got here. I was definitely confused by this. I used to think that the copula was a verb, and then people just started yelling at me when I started saying it was. So, no, I agree completely that it's not a verb. It's not a verb. It's a copula. It's a special thing. Now, the ironic thing is that it's not a verb now, but it came from a verb. Anyway, a verb, its verbal nature is very important to it. However, it is not a verb. And I'll sort of, quote unquote, prove that to you in the future. The copula number 3. Sometimes the copula might not actually be a copula. Yeah, so remember how we said it. So just a refresher. A copula is when you take the dog and you say red. Let's take a better adjective than that. The dog, big. And we're going to say chunk, the dog is red. Or, I just did it. The dog, big. The dog is big. There we go. I'm using my brain power now. Can you feel it? Brain power. All right. So, however, not always does the copula be a copula for all of the ghetto folks out there. Sometimes it just marks politeness. And we're going to get into politeness levels and distal stuff like that. But just be aware, sometimes it's not actually doing the function of, linking two things together. Sometimes it's just saying, boom, I'm being polite to you. Almost knocked over my water bottle. We'll see how this works a little bit in the examples at the end. Okay, on the last little chunk that I want to throw in here, we're not going to get into this very deeply. They're also particles. This is also a big mama jamma. Particles are little tiny sounds that come in between words. They basically just tell us how all the words in the sentence link to each other. Indeed, Japanese is an S-O... Oh, sorry. Maybe for you guys it's S-O-V. Whichever way it is. S comes first, O comes in the middle, or the complement, then the V comes at the end. Or the copula, depending on, fanciness. Particles will help determine the connection. Like, is the subject eating the object, or is it like drawing on the object, or is it using the object? So if I say I paper draw, what if it's some crazy thing where I'm trying to draw with the paper, which doesn't make any sense? Oh, you're looking at your kid who's trying to draw with paper, like, oh, he's trying to draw with the paper. Particles differentiate he's drawing on the paper versus he's drawing with the paper. Just a small list of particles. Wa. This looks like a ha, but it's pronounced wa. Wa ga o ni de to kara mare ka. This one's pronounced e, even though it's a he, and then ne, and more. There's even more. Yo. Okay. Holy moly! Take some. You don't need to memorize these vocabs. Okay, so don't memorize these vocabs. Vocabulary words. However, let's just go through them real quick. We got watashi, I, me. It's a noun or a non-nominal. Hon, book, no nominal. Oh, sorry, did I say non-nominal for this guy? I meant a no nominal. No nominal and a noun. Eiga, same thing. It means movie. Hito, same thing. It means person. So the first four are all no nominals and they're nouns. Watashi, hon, eiga, hito. I, me, book, movie, person. Kawaii, scary. It's an e adjectival. Oh, I use adjectival. We could call them adjectives. That works as well. Omoshiroi, interesting. It's an e adjective. Notice the colors. If you're colorblind, I apologize. I try to do my best. If you are colorblind and you can't differentiate these colors, try to memorize the words. Sorry, sorry. I'm not sorry. I mean, I am sorry, but I'm not able to do better for you. Sorry. Anyway, the colors differentiate the words, and when we go into the examples, I'm going to have this same color scheme. Okay. Kawaii, these guys are a little bit redder. Kawaii, scary. It's an e adjective. Omoshiroi, interesting. It's an e adjective, red. We got two verbs here. They're purple. Miru, see, look, watch. Yomu, to read. These are both verbs. Kirei is pretty. It's a non-nominal. So this is a non-adjective, aka a non-nominal. Then we have some copulas. Des, na, no, da. Des is at the end of a sentence. It means is, and it's a politeness marker. But it means is, or it is a politeness marker. Na means is. No means ownership, generally. But it's also when we take one thing, a noun and another noun, we link them together. But we don't need to get into that. A copula, maybe it is really a copula, and yeah. And da is, it's a politeness marker, and it's a lower politeness marker than a des. Those are all copulas. So we got greens, nouns, reds, e adjectives, purples, verbs. This sort of bluey, greeny color is a non-nominal, a non-adjective, a non-nominal. And then these yellowy guys are copulas. Okay, so let's see how they interact. What I want to do is show you how they interact with each other differently. That's what we're looking at in the next frame, how they interact with each other differently. Okay, so watashi no hon desu. So you see how we have two copulas. We have no nominal, followed by, you guessed it, a no, followed by a no nominal, followed by des. Now notice how it's no copula, no copula. So like I said earlier, nominals need to have a copula after them. This sentence proves my point, or it doesn't prove my point, but it's strong evidence regarding the truth and accuracy of my statement. Here we have an e adjective, omoshiroi eiga desu. So this is an interesting movie, is what we're saying here. Notice we have e adjective, noun, followed by a copula. So I told you that verbals don't need to have a copula after them, and indeed we don't. Then we have a noun, which does have a copula after it. Oh, I'm so good. I'm so good. I'm so good. Oh, yeah. I hope Disney doesn't sue me for Ariel on my shirt. My daughter loves Ariel. Watashi, look, it has a no, which is a copula after it. Omoshiroi, interesting. Hon, which is another noun. So notice how omoshiroi goes into hon without any copula. Watashi goes into... It's going into an e adjective. What? Is that? I didn't mention anything about that. Well, is watashi modifying omoshiroi or is it modifying hon? It's modifying hon. So it's my interesting book. So it's my book, and my book is interesting. So it's my interesting book. So you see, watashi goes into an adjective, but it's actually modifying hon. I mean, I'm not saying, oh, that's my interesting. Oh yeah, I got 4 interestings at the store today. Oh man, hey, do you need to buy another interesting? Yeah, no, that's not what's going on. Watashi no is going into hon, and so is omoshiroi. Watashi no hon, omoshiroi hon. So watashi no needs a copula to go into hon, and omoshiroi does not need a copula to go into hon. Eiga, omoshiroi. Here there would be a particle. I'm leaving it out because I'm trying to do sentences without particles right now. The movie is interesting. Eiga omoshiroi. If I just say it like that, eiga omoshiroi. Eiga omoshiroi yo. Eiga omoshiroi yo. I added a particle there, sorry. Eiga omoshiroi. The movie, it's interesting. The movie. Notice, eiga omoshiroi. There's no copula at the end because verbals don't need a copula at the end. This is a complete sentence. It makes sense. The movie is interesting. Adjectives have the idea of is in them already, so we don't need to have the des there. The des, if we were to put it there, which we're going to do here, turns it into a polite sentence. We're being what's called distal. We're adding politeness. So this is an example of how I said earlier, sometimes the copula isn't a copula. Sometimes the copula just says politeness. Some guy in Reddit, for like the one time Reddit was ever helpful to me, somebody pointed this out to me and it blew my mind. So congratulations to that guy. I wish I remembered your name. Eiga omoshiroi desu. Eiga omoshiroi desu. Eiga omoshiroi desu. Is the exact same sentence as eiga omoshiroi, except the politeness level is different. I'm being more polite down here with the des, and I'm being less polite up here. Or, I shouldn't even say polite. This could even just show a rank, and it could just be a hierarchy situation. Like your boss, if you're talking to your boss, you're going to use the des. If your boss is talking to you, he might not use the des. Kirei na hito da. So kirei goes into hito, and in order for kirei to go into hito, kirei na hito da. In order for kirei, it's hard to switch so easily between Japanese and English. Sorry. In order for kirei to go into hito, we have to add a copula, the na. After hito, we also have a copula because it marks the end of the sentence. We done with the sentence. Dog. Kirei na hito da. Kirei na hito da ne. Kirei na hito da. She is a pretty person. I'm assuming it's a she. Context is king. We don't know. Okay, that being said. Oh, actually, also, we might even use a different copula here depending on context. You know, maybe she's many things. Anyway. Kawaii ga miru. Kawaii ga miru. Kawaii ga miru. I watch miru. The I is implied. I should have that in brackets, but I'm not going to do this again. Kawaii ga, scary movies. Kawaii is modifying eiga. Eiga is the thing that we're watching, so we get miru. This could actually be translated as the scary movies watch us, but unlikely, highly unlikely, unless, you know, we're living in a Google dystopia where Facebook and Google watch us. It's only about 4 years away. Actually, geez, they might, actually no, it's already here. If you're watching a movie on your computer, they're watching you. Anyway, that's my paranoid, crazy thought. Kawaii eiga miru. Sorry, let me see that more like a Japanese person. Kawaii eiga miru. Notice how this is I watch scary movies. Kawaii, verbal, goes directly into eiga. Doesn't need a copula. Eiga is a noun. It's not going into, it's not the end of the sentence, and it's not going into a noun. So we don't need a copula here. And then miru doesn't need a copula either. Okay? So we see how that works. Doesn't need a copula, verbal. Doesn't need a copula, verbal. Eiga, the only reason why it doesn't need a copula here is because it's not the end of the sentence and it's not going into a noun. Okay, cool. We normally might put a particle there, but we don't need to, so I'm not going to because I'm trying to break this down simply for you. All right, here is a rather difficult sentence. Yomu honda. Yomu honda. Here we have a verb going into a noun. There's no copula. And then here we have the noun ending the sentence, so we have a copula at the end. Yomu honda. The thing that we're talking about, it is a book. It is a book. And this book is a book that somebody reads or will read. Okay, so this is a book that somebody reads. This is very difficult. Well, it's not difficult, but this is about when you start learning this. This is where the kids start dropping out of your Japanese class. So once again, go through these examples. You don't have to listen to me talk. Just pause them on each of one of the frames. Just real quick, I'll go through the frames for you. If you want to just take a look, pause it. If you just want to take a look, pause it. You will see nominal. The things that I call the nominal will have a copula after them if it's the end of a sentence or if they're before a noun, even if there's like an adjective or a verb in front of them. If I called it a verbal, you'll see that out of all of these examples, there's no copula necessary after them. In fact, sometimes adding the copula would just be straight up wrong, but you will see that there is a copula after one of them here at the very bottom, and that's actually just to be polite. I showed you that it doesn't need to exist, but if we do add it, it will be considered more polite. So hopefully you believe me. Hopefully this proves my point. I hope that you learned something. Thank you very much for watching. If you got some Bitcoin, throw my way as a tip, or go to my website, give me some Patreon dough, or just a straight up donation. I think there's a PayPal link. Be sure to check out Twitter, Facebook. I post there. And you can contact me, ask me questions. If you got a good question, I'll make a video out of it. In the comments, I would love to hear if you guys would be at all interested in when I make these slideshows, if I just put this on like a live stream so you guys could ask me questions while I'm making the slides. Yeah, get in contact with me, guys. I'm like a fish out of water. I ain't hearing from nobody. All right, I hope people who think this was going to be a dumb lesson learned something. This, I think, is very important for beginners, advanced, and even somewhat advanced students to learn. Very important stuff here. I hope you learned something. Have yourself a great day. Maybe hit subscribe. Maybe hit the thumbs up button if you think this was worthwhile. And leave me a comment. Say, Evan, you stinky fish. All right, peace out, guys.